Hello, my name is Michael Anderson, and today I want to tell you my story. But this is not just a story about how someone made it. This is a story about pain, about falling down, about staring into the abyss, and about how you can still climb out of it. My life began in poverty. And to be honest, I've always believed poverty isn't only about money. Poverty is about the absence of hope. It's about that feeling when you look into the future and see nothing. I was born in a small American town. We lived in a little house on the edge of the city. We were so poor that sometimes it felt like even the walls of our house were crying. The roof leaked. The windows were taped with duct tape to keep the cold wind out. The kitchen always smelled of old wood and something sour, the smell of poverty that seeps into your soul when you're a child. My mother was a hero. She worked 2 jobs. She cleaned houses for wealthy people, then mopped floors in a supermarket. I saw her tired hands cracked from cleaning chemicals, and I thought, why do other kids have moms who bake pies and smile while my mom comes home barely able to stand? My father drank. Sometimes he disappeared for weeks, sometimes for months, and when he came back, it was worse. Yelling, fights, things breaking against the wall. I remember hiding under the bed, covering my ears with my hands just to block out the sound. That's when I learned, home isn't always the safest place. Sometimes home is where it hurts the most. School was no better. I was always that poor kid. My sneakers were so worn out that the soles barely held together. Kids laughed, "Hey Michael, when are those shoes finally gonna fall apart?" I laughed with them, pretending it didn't hurt. But inside, it destroyed me. I remember one day, the teacher asked us to bring photos of our family celebrations. Some kids had pictures of Thanksgiving dinners with a big table full of food. Others had vacations at the beach. And me, I had one photo. My mom standing at the stove, exhausted, but smiling. And you know what? I didn't show it. I was ashamed. Ashamed of my family. Ashamed of myself. Chapter 2. Teenage Years. When I was 14, my father left for good. He packed his bags and disappeared. The house became quieter. But inside me, a hole opened up. Even a bad father is still a father, and I felt abandoned. That's when I turned to the wrong kind of comfort. The first time I drank was with the boys from my street. Cheap beer. I hated the taste, but inside my head it gave me lightness. For a few hours I wasn't poor Michael. For a few hours I was free. And that's how the habit began. Then dependence. By the age of 15, I already knew what it meant to be in debt. I borrowed money on trust just to buy sneakers that might hide my poverty. I thought, if I look normal, maybe they'll respect me. But all of it was an illusion. Inside the emptiness was growing. I woke up every morning and saw no meaning. I remember one night. I was 16, sitting in my room with a bottle in my hand, rain outside, and I thought, why am I alive? Would anything even change if I wasn't here? I didn't act on it that night, but that thought stayed with me for years. At 18, I moved to a bigger city for college. I thought, this is it, a new life. But the truth is, wherever you go, you carry your demons with you. I kept drinking. I kept borrowing money. I wanted to look successful. I wanted to prove to the world that I mattered. But in reality, I was sinking deeper and deeper. Phone calls became my nightmare. I was terrified of answering, because I knew it was the collectors. I lived with constant fear. I lost friends. The ones who stayed with me got tired of my drinking, my broken promises to quit. Eventually, I was left alone with my bottles and my debts. I was only 20, yet I felt like an old man who had already lived too long, too hard. And then came the day that changed everything. One morning I woke up on the floor. My head was splitting, empty bottles everywhere, my phone full of missed calls. I looked in the mirror, and I didn't recognize myself. My face swollen, my eyes dead. There was no life in them, and I realized either I change now, or I'm finished. I told myself, Michael, enough. That was the beginning of my fight. The first thing I did, I quit drinking. It was like tearing away a piece of myself. Nights without sleep, my hands shaking. I screamed into my pillow from anger and pain. But I held on. I started running. I remember my first morning. I ran 200 meters and collapsed onto a bench, thinking, you're pathetic. But the next day, I ran 300, then 100, then a kilometer. And with each step, I felt, maybe I can defeat myself. I began to read. I devoured books about people who had gone through hell. I absorbed their words like medicine. Then I got a job, a small company, a tiny paycheck. But I worked like my life depended on it. And in truth, it did. Years of struggle reshaped me. I studied. I failed. I fell down. But I stood up again and again. I started projects. Some failed. Some gave small victories. I learned to turn defeat into experience. And then, 10 years after that morning when I woke up on the floor among bottles, I was standing at the head of my own company. I had a house. I had a family. But most importantly, I had belief. Belief in myself. I don't tell you this story for pity. No, I tell you this because if I could rise from the bottom, so can you. Don't wait for quick victories. Start small. Go for a run. Read a book. Set one small goal. Take the one step every single day. Even the smallest step still moves you forward. Don't be afraid to fall. Be afraid not to get up. And remember, hitting rock bottom isn't the end. Rock bottom is the foundation you can push off from. My name is Michael Anderson. I went through poverty, through humiliation, through the hell of alcohol, debt, and depression. And today I stand here as living proof that even the darkest tunnel has an exit. If you're at the bottom right now, know this, you have strength inside you. You just don't see it yet. But one day you'll look back and say, all my pain, all my failures, they were the foundation of my future. Thank you.
Before us stood a man who went through trials that would have broken many forever. He grew up in poverty, he stumbled, he lost himself, he lived at rock bottom. And yet, he found the strength to rise. He found the courage to say to himself, enough, I will live differently. Michael Anderson's story is not a fairy tale. It is reality. It is proof that willpower, faith, and perseverance can lift a person even from the deepest darkness. And you know what is most inspiring? Michael didn't come here to complain about life. He came to share hope, to tell each of us, you can too. Today we heard a story of pain, struggle, and victory. But most importantly, we heard a reminder. Every one of us has a chance. No matter how heavy your past is, no matter how deep your bottom feels, there is always a way up.